Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 40. That would be episode 40. This one is going to be about the Texas budget and education. Thank y'all for tuning in for this podcast. Don't forget, please subscribe to the podcast and hit your notifications so you're always up to par with what's going on, and listen to my broadcast, which is like right at this point, like every 4 days that I'm doing. I've been pretty busy myself, going back and forth to Austin and around the area and stuff here. So this is getting at the tail end of some of the stuff I've been doing with the Texas Legislature. Some pretty cool stuff coming out, important stuff coming out. Some disappointing stuff that came out concerning Democrats. So as you know, in Texas we have a legislature that meets every 2 years. They spend roughly 150 days in session, and it ends on the 31st of May. But if they don't get all their priorities done, or there's important matters that still need to be addressed, the governor can call a special session. He just called special session number 1 that convenes on the 8th of July. But there has not been any agenda released yet, because he can release that after they get back here. Okay? And they have to go exactly what he puts on the agenda. They can't dream up all kinds of new legislation. So we'll see what that comes up. That's that's about 2 weeks away now. So there's the state budget and education. So Senate Bill 1 went before the Senate and the House a couple weeks ago. It was signed on the 18th of June, which today is the 24th, less than a week ago. He issued the governor signed. I'll put up what we're talking about. So this is the state budget that got passed. Okay, and then it dedicates $34.2 billion to expanded health care for women's health and mental health. There's $352 million for women's health programs. That's $10 million more than what they spent the last 2 years. There's $164 million to lower the CPS case workload. If you're not from Texas and you're listening to this, we had a problem in Texas over the last several years of like a revolving door of CPS workers, because they just can't handle the workload, and they would just quit. And kids fell through the cracks. And this is their way of trying to plug the hole and make it better and more habitable for the young people and family members. They increase mental health spending. They made an investment on disabled people, veterans, and to give them a chance to live a normal life. Public education, there was $46 billion spent on public education. And then what it is to help with student aid for students. Where else would student aid go for but the students? But that was to help people that was affected by COVID. Where we learned at the college where I serve at, they were throwing money at us, so much money we couldn't give it all away to anyone that wanted to go to college. It was paid for pretty much. I wish there was more of an outgoing reach of students and parents looking for that money. We publicized it as best as we could. There was more security funding. There was a law that was passed that gives local colleges more say so in a policing program for their different campuses, which is good also. There was $4 million to redo the Public Utilities Commission. 30.2 billion dollars for the Department of Transportation for highway planning and design. As they say, like I said, if you're not from Texas, you don't understand. Okay, but I-35 is on a permanent state of reconstruction. Wherever you go on I-35, there's always construction on that thing. Always. I don't know when it's ever going to stop, but they'll find a bridge to improve or a roadway to expand, and just keep it going. We're still going to have $11 billion in a rainy day fund, and that's for emergencies. $11 billion. If the sky falls on top of us and everything stops, we have $11 billion. That won't take us very far, but that's a start. I think that's like 90 days of emergency funding for the state of Texas. What else? Oh yeah. So back in while we were talking about education just a second ago, some of the improvements that were made in the education program was the $664 million to help students and schools affected by the pandemic. That's great. They also did House Bill 1525, which was signed on the 16th of June, which it's phase 2 school finance reform. This is to help, and I'll read it. It says, with the passage of 1525, the budget will allocate $464 million to increase the foundation school program formula funding the various school allotments. This bill made some fixes to school finance reform from the 86 legislature to provide more equity for rural districts. That means more of your tax dollars will go to the poor districts around Texas, because not everybody's a Dallas or Houston ISD. We got little schools out there that are very wealthy, tax-funded schools that they got all this extra money left over. And what the state is going to do, they got a formula. Back in the day, they called it the Robin Hood, but the formula where tax dollars are dispersed and stuff. If I'm wrong, leave me a comment and school me. Let me know what I said wrong. Okay. And then give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. And then the TRS, which is the teacher retirement system, they're up in the ante to 8% from 7.5%, which enables a teacher to be able to receive a higher retirement when they finish their teaching career. There's a $1.5 billion financial aid programs to colleges and universities. And then they go along with that. Also, there is two things I wanted to talk about also with these two programs, with the budget and education, particularly with education. Two bills that the governor signed. First was House Bill 2497, which is the 1836 project. He signed it on the 7th of June. And what it is, it requires all public schools, K through 12, to establish a program where Texas history is taught. Okay, not the version of Texas history where everybody's at fault of everything, and we're to teach the correct version of freedom-loving Texans that no matter what their race are here and to learn, and that we're not perfect. And we learn from our mistakes, and we build on those mistakes. And there's too much people out there that are actually out there condemning everything. Oh my goodness. I read an article, and where did I read it? Oh yeah. Colonel West, Alan West, he put out an article the other day. It was a reprint from Time magazine. And in Time magazine, they do their best to destroy the entire history of the Texas Revolution. I mean, everything from the purpose to the outcome to the end goals, everything. And it was all wrong. Matter of fact, they disregarded 1824 completely. They didn't even bring it up. I don't. How do people get away with doing stuff like this? It's like the people that wrote the 1619 project. They just dreamed it up out of nowhere. Oh, what can we do now? Oh, we'll rewrite history and lean it toward a direction that they seem fit, and fault everybody else for actions that their great grandparents did. I mean, I can trace back my lineage into the late 1700s. Okay, and we were poor, and we didn't do no slave stuff. We went from South Carolina to Mississippi to Texas. Okay, and I'm a Republican. I don't believe in slavery. Never have. I know that the Republicans were in charge of the House, the Senate, and the presidency during the whole entire Civil War, and they drafted up the 13th Amendment, which was ratified by the states in December 1865. So the Democrats, they think they have a shoe in on this subject because they're Democrats. They didn't free nobody. They were the cause, and they're still the cause. They want to keep people in subjugation with keeping them poor and dependent on government subsidies to keep them voting for them, because nobody's going to deny a free meal or free rent or free school or free medical or free. You know what? You got to pay for it sometimes. Somebody's got to pay for it. And they're going to eventually say, I've had enough. So the Texas Legislature, they crafted House Bill 2497 requiring the Texas school system to teach Texas history. Okay. I think that's a really good. Why do we need a bill to do that? Because people will go out of their way of changing history, okay, rewriting history. And, I know true history is written about 100 years past the event, okay? And it's been almost 200 years since the Texas Revolution. So everything that could have been researched about it should have been done almost 100 years ago. So tell me where I'm wrong. I mean, 18 minutes for the Battle of San Jacinto. I believe 900 Mexicans were killed. Okay, like 15 Texans were killed, and it secured our independence. Washington on Brazos is where the Texas Constitution, Declaration of Independence was signed. Sam Houston was our first president, and he was our commanding general. You can look at Moses Austin and Stephen F. Austin with the first 300. What all came here? What were the requirements to be able to colonize Texas, according to Santa Anna and the people before Santa Anna? That stuff needs to be taught. Okay, the other bill that was signed through the Texas Legislature was House Bill 3979. It was signed on the 16th of June, 2021. And what that is, it is a direct attack on all the school systems that want to teach critical race theory. There is no reason why CRT should be taught in the classrooms at all. The entire state should be equal opportunity and everyone should be treated fairly. We should not have a system where our kids, our adolescents, our toddlers are taught that one race is better than the other race, and one race should be faulted for the sins of their fathers. Where do we get that? What is divisive? It's Marxist. Okay, they all they want to do is use that scenario that teach kids to hate each other, and then when they become adults, hate each other still more, and divide us from who we truly are. That we're Americans and we're Texans. Okay, we should be united. We shouldn't be out there faulting each other and going at each other with clubs and guns and fists and knives, and or you're responsible for this in 1861 and below, and it's like I wasn't even alive, and I was born in 1968. I wasn't born in 1848 or 1850. That's nonsense. Why are we going to treat that a person that's a particular race is better than another race, or that person should fault that person for things they never did, or say, hey, since you're a particular color, you owe me reparations for what your great 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 grandparents did. Where do we get that as being Americans? We should be freedom loving and not faulting everybody for what everybody else does. That just causes dissension and causes people to hate each other. And we're supposed to love each other. It says in the Bible, love your neighbor as you wish yourself to be loved. I'm paraphrasing that. You know what I'm talking about. Okay? Not to make each other hate each other and keep hating each other. That's unbiblical. And we should learn that. There's no reason why we should have to. Why do we have to have a bill that forbids teaching a CRT? Because people use it in their political arena to divide us and teach us socialistic and Marxist ideas to live by, that they continuously teach our kids in the school system. Why is it we have a problem with kids that are being liberal when they graduate high school and college? Because our school systems infiltrated with leftists and liberals. There was a deal, I didn't even get to watch it. Some teacher in Texas was livid and crying her eyes out because she couldn't teach critical race theory. Well, you know what? Why is she? The 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. That's all it should be taught in the school system. That, history, civics, not shame politics. And keep politics out of the school system. Teach them to be model citizens, okay? Don't teach in your philosophy unless you're in a philosophy class, okay? Some big money be thrown around. Some serious legislation is going through. One thing I didn't talk about was in SB1 also, there was a line item veto that was issued, and that was that if you walk out on your legislative duties in the state of Texas, your pay stops. And that's in response to the Democrats blowing the quorum on May 31st. And they took their voting keys and walked out, so they couldn't they couldn't vote on election reform because there were some bills that were left undone in the state legislature dealing with elections, and they walked out. They staged protests and left. Well, now their pay stops, and that was signed on the 18th of June. So when we reconvene the legislature on the 8th of July. If they walk out, their pay stops. what needs to be done is that if they walk out, their non-presence to the whole situation, which should be, their non-attendance should reflect their absence and not constitute part of the quorum. Not a bad idea. I guess we could check that one out to see how far that would go. Talk to my state representative. She just announced that she's going to run for re-election. She was voted the most conservative female in the Texas legislature this session, which is cool. Remember, y'all can always vote, not vote for me. You can vote for me in 4 more years. But you can write me on at JP8 Report at gmail.com. And I'm on Facebook at JP8 Report. You can leave comments on Podbean, Rumble, and YouTube. Tell me how everything's progressing. If you have any questions, if you can leave a comment, but if you send me an email, I can respond to that immediately. Okay. Thank y'all for watching this episode. I hope y'all have a great day. See you on the flip side. And until then, I'm out.